Hello, ladies and gentlemen. It's me, Grace. Hello. I already said hello, didn't I? Anyway, I wanted to tell you about my All-State experience. Voila! Hence why I have this shirt right here. Anywho, let's get started, shall we? So, I left my school with my choir teacher, Victoria Lodahl, along with Kyle Fergus. He was in a band group at the Oregon Convention Center as well. I think it was an all-state or an all-Northwest group. But I know that he was the only band representation and I was the only choir representation. Anyway, we all rode along in the same van. Jason Schoonover, Kyle's band instructor, was driving. We signed permission forms the day before we left because the snow tires on Mr. Schoonover's van worked better than the district vans. So, anyhow, we left at 7 o'clock in the morning on February 15th, which was last week. And that was to get there before 12:30. And by there, I mean the Oregon Convention Center, which was where we rehearsed and performed. The ride was pretty fun for the most part. I mostly daydreamt about what it would be like to perform in front of all sorts of people while I was in Portland. The Oregon Convention Center is in Portland, so there's that. Anywho, it was like, the ride was like 4 or 5 hours long. But Miss Lodahl and Mr. Schoonover got checked into the hotel that they were staying in, and they were there so they could go to like a 2-day conference that was around the same time as Kyle's and my conference, so they could become better teachers. I fidget around with stuff a lot, so if you were wondering about that, there's that. Anywho, so we ate lunch at Wendy's when we got to Portland, and then after that we went back to the convention center. Kyle and I got checked in, and after that, my rehearsal was like 5 hours long, from 1 until 6 o'clock. After 6 o'clock, we went to this dining hall, which we went to by bus for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and blah, blah, blah. So anyway, we ate out at this dining hall. It's called, I don't know what it's called, but I know it has the word Melody in it. And it is in Portland, which is a few blocks away from the convention center. I mostly had fruits and vegetables. I had some protein, but I didn't have any dairy at all whatsoever because dairy screws up your vocal cords and messes your entire voice up. So I didn't have any dairy, which is a pretty great accomplishment for me, considering that me and my family eat quite a bit of dairy. And I know as a singer I'm not supposed to be eating dairy. At least not too much anyway. Yes, my throat is a little sore, which is pretty unfortunate. I do hope it heals for a choir contest that I have coming up on March 5th. So, we rehearsed for 5 hours from 1 until 6 o'clock p.m. and then we had dinner for like an hour or so, and then we went back to the convention center. After that, we rehearsed for 2 more hours, and then we took our luggage back, and then we took our luggage. Gosh, I can't talk. So we brought our luggage to the truck that transported our luggage to the hotel. And after that, we got our luggage and went into our hotel rooms. But that was after we rehearsed for a couple of hours. And then we got checked into our rooms, and I roomed with this girl named Erica. The rooming arrangements were pretty random, as I assume. But I roomed with her, and it was a pretty fun time rooming with her, so that's cool. So, as you can imagine, we slept on those hotel beds that are pretty damn uncomfortable to sleep in. So, we slept in those because it's a DoubleTree hotel that we slept in and roomed in. So, the next morning we woke up. I took my purse and my backpack with me, and pretty much anything I had that didn't have a tag on it, which was, well, my suitcase was the only thing that had a tag on it, which had all of my stuff inside. Or rather, some of my most important stuff inside. Which included clothing and toiletries and shit like that. But anyway, we ate breakfast at that dining hall again, as well as every other meal. After we ate breakfast, we rehearsed for, I believe, 2 to 3 hours. And then we ate lunch again. You were probably wondering what we had on all 6 meals. So, for dinner the first night, we had penne pasta, which had a beef and pork meat sauce. I had a little bit of that, and I had some fruits and vegetables, specifically a salad and an apple and or a banana. And then for breakfast on both days we had eggs, bacon, sausage. I took eggs and bacon. I don't really like sausage too much. And I ate an apple and a banana, and I think I took an orange too. Then for lunch on both days as well, we had turkey, ham, and roast beef sandwiches. I didn't eat those because, like I said, I mostly had fruits and vegetables. I had a little bit of protein, and like I said, I had no dairy because of the way dairy screws up your voice. And then for dinner on the second night, we had herb chicken breasts. I ate that, and I ate a salad along with the same fruits that I ate for breakfast and lunch. After lunch and before dinner on the second day was also a 5-hour long rehearsal, so it was like a 3-day boot camp for me. And Miss Slowdahl, she wasn't kidding when she said that it was a 3-day boot camp. So anyhow, it was physically and mentally exhausting, which is how singing works, really. But I was especially thinking about this one person while rehearsing and performing for our concert. I was sporting this Team Jessie bracelet all weekend. So, about that. There was this woman who was a 5th grade teacher where I lived, or where I do live, but she was my 5th grade teacher, and she was my kid brother's 5th grade teacher as well. She was diagnosed with stomach cancer back in the summer of 2017, and yeah, she had a pretty tough battle. So a few weeks ago, she passed away from that after a 1.5-year battle. And I went to her funeral. I went to her funeral service. I didn't stay for the burial, but I did go to the reception after I left the church. So I was sporting that all weekend, except for at the concert because I was wearing all black. A few of the people there were wearing school uniforms like robes and such. But I was one of the only ones who didn't really have that, so I just wore my own black dress and black jacket and black heels and such. So I was basically doing this all for Jessie. Jessie Higginbotham was a really great person, and I do believe that she is still with her 2 children as well as her entire family. And she was a really big influence in Zilla. So, having all found out that we lost her, it was such a hard time for all of us. But I can only imagine that it impacted her nuclear and extended family the most. But as long as she is not in any more pain, then we're fine with that. I mean, I know we're not all meant to live forever. None of us are. I mean, we all wanted her pain to end. We all did. Just not in the way it did. But I talked with the counselor the day that she passed, and I'm not exactly gonna go deeper into too much more detail, but it was still a really sad deal for all of us. So I was singing for her and her family because, I mean, she sure as hell deserves it. So on the day of the performance, we went to this exhibit hall where we went for our dress rehearsal. We didn't all exactly get into our concert outfits, but some of them did, just for shits and giggles, I guess. But anyhow, we all rehearsed for a few hours there, and we corrected some mistakes, big and small. So our conductor, I never told you that, but our conductor, Dr. Edith Copley, teaches at the University of Flagstaff in Arizona. She coaches all sorts of choirs across the country and even some internationally as well. So that must be a really big deal. Anyway, I loved working with her. She was really enthusiastic about pretty much everything, and well, I mean, she was really nitpicky, but hey, that's All-State Choir, so it's supposed to be that. I'm looking for her. So this right here is Edith Copley. She was the conductor of the WMEA All-State Symphonic Choir. Northern Arizona University, never mind. I got the Flagstaff part because Northern Arizona University is in Flagstaff. She lived in Vienna, Austria for 7 years and taught choral music there. And as you can imagine, she has received several awards and honors, which is also super awesome. And this fell off. I got this window decal along with a certificate of participation. I want to put that in the back window of my car, but then again, I don't know when it's going to retire, so I'm just going to save that as like a keepsake. I know there's something else in here. Either that or it's in this. Nope. Haha! So this is the certificate of participation. I mean, I know it's just a piece of paper, but I was still so honored to have been able to get into the All-State Choir and to perform and work with and meet all sorts of wonderful people. I stutter a lot, so please bear with me. As you can see, I got in as an alto too. There weren't very many of us second altos, but it was still really cool nevertheless. I mean, altos rule, right? That's just an unpopular opinion of mine. And hopefully many of my other altos will agree. Or fellow altos. This goes in there. So, this is the music we did. We did Kyrie eleison, which is by Franz Joseph Haydn and arranged by Charles C. Hurt. That was one of my favorites to rehearse and perform. Kyrie eleison means grant us thy salvation. It's from the Lord Nelson Mass. And then we did Weep, O Mine Eyes by John Bennett. It was a very mellow and sad tune. But then again, I loved every single song that I rehearsed and performed. Just some more than others. We also did the Liebeslieder waltzers. Number 15 is Nachtigall, sie singt so schön. And then we did number 16, which is Ein dunkler Schacht des Liebe. It doesn't say who the artist is in this piece of music. But it is German. I don't think all of these are in the right order, but we also did Ubi Caritas et Amor by Yosu Elberdin. It is a SATB Gosh, I can't talk. It's a SATB arrangement, which was, as so were all these other songs, because our entire choir was SATB. There were 300 some kids in our choir originally, but we fell 50 some short on the actual trip because of the weather that was going on here in Washington State. And then we did Bawotik Somala by Sidumonia Masele. It's in the language Xhosa, which includes a few click sounds. For example, the Q sound is made with the tongue coming straight down from the hard palate, making a loud clack, and the softer X, which is made with the sides of the tongue, as one would do when calling a horse. The translation for this song is, Father, God Almighty, what have I done wrong? What have we done in your eyes, O God? What have we done to you, my Lord, Father, God Almighty? On this earth we carry a heavy burden. Let this be over, thy will be done. My heart is guilty, I vow forever. Let this be over, thy will be done. This song was a song of hope that was written in the 80s after a conflict in South Africa occurred. Before Nelson Mandela became the first black president of South Africa, the white minority took over the government and the black majority, they wanted a revolution. So there was a little Cold War, I should say. I don't exactly remember what it was, but let's see if it's in here. The text of Bawo is said to have been spontaneously written on the blackboard of Ngoslisi Matila. He was born in 1938 and died in 1985 when he had been dismissed from the teaching profession due to the discriminatory policies of the apartheid regime. Over time, the music was passed from community to community, and it became a popular song of protest during the apartheid years. Though the text is tinged with sadness, the music is uplifting, a prevalent dichotomy in Xhosa songs of this time. So it was a song of protest, a song of hope. And after that, Nelson Mandela became the first black president of South Africa. He has, since 2013, been deceased. We did I Love You, What a Wonderful World by Craig Hella Johnson also. It was available for SATB accompaniment as well. There was a solo in here as well. There was a tenor solo, which was done by a boy named Sean Patrick. There was a chorus, which was done by the majority of the choir. And I did the ensemble. Most of the people who performed the ensemble didn't rehearse it before we went to Portland. So that gave me a pretty hard time, but hey, we got through, right? And then we ended with Cornerstone by Sean Kirchner. There was a solo on verse 1, and that was done by a boy named Oscar. Then there was a solo on verse 2 also, and that was done by a girl named Leah. There was also a soprano discant, which was done by a few second and verse sopranos. Then there was a trio, which wasn't necessarily a trio, but there was like 3 other kids in the higher, middle, and lower parts. There was a soprano trio, a mezzo-soprano trio, and an alto trio. So it was more so a triple trio, as I say. Anyway, so that is the music that we did. I honestly had a lot of fun performing and rehearsing all of these. And Patty Schmidt was the all-state manager for our choir. We competed against the WMEA All-State Symphonic Choir, the Oregon All-State Symphonic Choir. Their choir had like 100 some more kids than us, but they weren't as loud or as articulated, according to Miss Lodahl when she watched our performance. Well, I mean, she watched Oregon's performance as well, but I'm guessing she looked forward to watching mine more because I'm her student and we're both from Washington. So I was the only choir representation, so I'm the only one who has the shirt. Even after all those long and exhausting rehearsals and whatnot, there was still a lot of singing going on because, hey, that's what we were all there for, right? To sing. So, I got home really late on February 17th, which was a week ago today. I also performed on that day. Kyle rode home with his parents after performing his pieces in the band, and I rode home with Mr. Schoonover and Miss Slowdahl. We chatted for quite a bit of time. We ate out at Dairy Queen in Hood River, and we made a few other short stops, and after that we headed right back home. So I slept in as soon as I got home. I didn't try to unpack, even though I do unpack on the day after I return from a trip. So I was pretty exhausted. But it was also really, really fun. So if you're a choir student and you have the chance to audition for something like this, then you should do it. You should audition in the fall, and it doesn't matter if you get in or not, it will still be worth the experience. This was my first and last time doing this. I am a senior in high school, so I auditioned for it. I didn't really have a fear of not getting in. However, I did know that whatever the results, I would be satisfied with it. I wouldn't go, I wish I hadn't spent the money to audition. There is some money that you have to spend depending on where you are. But from what I heard, it was a WIAA requirement. It wasn't necessarily the teacher's fee. But anyway, I spent the money, and I got in, hence why I have this shirt and why I have all my music and such. But after the performance, I was looking for Miss Slowdahl, so we could look for my luggage and such. And when she hugged me and told me how proud she was, I had one of the greatest feelings in the world. Like I said, my throat is a little sore, but hopefully it heals before contest. But I was also really proud of myself too. Hopefully Washington State does go on to another competition against another state. And hopefully we do that again, and it goes on. So I slept in the day when I got home near midnight. I slept in for like 8 hours or so. And then I told both of my parents about the trip and the people I met and such and such. I'm just really happy that I got to do this. Because if I didn't try, then I wouldn't have known what it was like. Spending those 3 days in Portland was one of the most worthwhile experiences that I ever had. So if you have the opportunity to do this, do it. It's worth the experience. It's so worth it. Had I not tried, and had I not auditioned, then I wouldn't be saying any of these things. You never know until you try. And even if you don't get in, it will still be worth it. I didn't audition any other year up until this year, but I'm glad I did it all. Take the risk. Audition for All-State Symphonic Choir. Audition for these sorts of things. Try new things. Go out of your comfort zone. Your comfort zone is only the place of regrets. There is a commitment, which includes downloading recordings of the music that is being sent to you by the WMEA. But don't be afraid to commit to it. Don't be afraid to audition. And don't be afraid to commit to what is going to be an awesome work of art performed by you. Had I stayed in my comfort zone, I wouldn't have been making this video right now. So I hope this inspires you to take a risk, to take a chance, and maybe even have a life-changing experience. Anyway, I will talk to you guys next time. I love you all, and be safe and be happy.